Group. So I start with our territorial acknowledgement. So we work and live and study on the region south of the Fraser River, overlapping with the unceded traditional and ancestral lands of our Kwantlen, Musqueam, Katzie, Semiahmoo, Twoswin, Quaquot, and Coquitlam peoples. So we feel very proud, and I have gone abroad, and I don't know if you had that experience where people say Kwantlen, where's that name come from, or what happens? And it's wonderful that we can proudly say that is connected to our First Nations here. So especially if you're a new student, I don't know if you knew that, but here's some more information for you. So just for today, just doing some welcome and introductions. I have some PowerPoint just to go over more about the opportunities, details about the scholarships, application requirements, events, and tips from our alumni. Doing a closing with some questions. And then afterwards, we'll have snacks and some activities later afterwards as well. So just to get also introduce our team. So my manager, Ada Lee, we're having a welcome booth over there. So she may stop by later. She's our global learning and partnership manager in our global engagement team. And my name is Sarah Byrne. I'm the outbound exchange coordinator. My coworker, Chanel, she's actually changing soon over into a partnership coordinator. And then we have Ryan, who's helping as a coordinator, who's also going to be on the team helping with a few special projects. We have Leo, who is our support assistant. He will be joining later. And we have two student assistants. And this is a great opportunity, if also later, for knowing that there is employment, and any experiences that you do in outbound are always recognized on your resume to look for any jobs and help in the future. Our department does hire, as well as other departments around as well. So this is a quote, very popular. I heard when I was a study abroad student. 20 years from now, you might be more disappointed by the things you didn't do, by the things you did do. So it's just encouragement to take that risk. And I know a lot of our staff members and older adults will say, oh, I wish that I traveled and went abroad when I was younger. Because once you get older, you get into more commitments, it can be more difficult. And while you're a student, we have a lot more support, and there's opportunities for scholarships and help in that space. So great today is all about exploring those opportunities, dreaming of hearing some stories about our alumni of what they did, what could happen for you, and then discovering and thinking about going abroad yourself. Reasons of why: improving your language skills. Maybe you want to learn Japanese and you want to experience that in Japan, or Spanish in South America, and broadening your worldview. I think we have another person joining. Hi, come on in. You can have a seat. Enhancing your resume, expanding the global network and friendships, and the access to scholarships and support that we have here. So maybe thinking also about what, where, and when. So we have some alumni experiences. This is our student who studied journalism, who went on exchange for a semester to Peru. Some of the experiences we've also put on our YouTube channel, and you can explore that there. And we've had actually our guest, Maya. Maya has here, and she's got a great inspirational quote about perspective and also getting out of your comfort zone. Maya and also Jess were our two students that first went abroad to South America, to our partners in Bogota and in Peru. And we've got design students who have gone abroad. We have over a partner in Denmark and also another student going our partner in Australia. So all over the globe, we have different experiences. And if you have connections already to somewhere, that's great. And we encourage you, maybe you have family somewhere or friends you want to meet up with, or also trying to explore somewhere new and what life in your program is like in that other place. Korea is another good partner. We have business students going there. As you can see, all these students study different types of programs, and just different partners we have around the world help for their experiences, but they're all coming back saying that their experience was something they will never forget, and just some inspiration for you to think about in making that risk, maybe getting out of your comfort zone, going on a plane, and trying what life is like in another country. So just looking at these next requirements for eligibility, going on abroad, if you are thinking of doing a semester exchange, we ask that you first be finishing your first semester, first year, have the 24 credits minimum GPA, and come back to KPU afterwards for your 9 credits and finish up. So I know maybe you're thinking of also going on exchange. So just keeping that in mind, we do have a little star here because there may be some exceptions that we can think about and discuss that. But also it really depends on what's a best fit for you and best fit for your program. For certain programs, like for example, the health science program that are very cohort based with a limited entry, or for students that are in a diploma or certificate program for only 2 years, those can be very restricted of what courses you need to complete, and you might not have the space and time to go abroad for a full semester. Or if you're in a design program, maybe you can't go abroad each year, so there's specific semesters you can go. So it's just understanding what is best for your program also. For those other programs, that's where a short-term program might be better, or the virtual program like you were thinking for your program. And for that is just the 9 credits, and the GPA, it's put that at the 2.5 just so that you know to keep focus on your studies if you have anything lower, and then anything higher is adding on extra work or experiences. But if there's anything concerns, that's just something to discuss and feel comfortable to talk to me about any of that. So the types of opportunities, there is that exchange 1 semester going abroad that you can participate in, like our 2 students did here. They went to a partner university. They paid in KPU credits and not the international fees for their credits. And it's mainly bachelor degree students, but if you are open to, you have a program, I'm working with a student interested to go abroad in a certificate program, but they are open to knowing that they will be paying for extra credits. And they're open for that because they value the experience still in going abroad. Our next deadline for this is the 15th of June for spring 2024. So it's great, any of you to connect with at this time in May if you're working on this application for that deadline. Otherwise, the next would be next year, February 15th, for the fall of 2024. So that's exchange in person. We also have summer schools. We have some students, you mentioned you're in a supply chain management program in business. So great. We have you exploring your first year, getting settled into your program now, and maybe next summer, explore what a summer program would be like. We have a partner over in Germany. We're looking at, we have some international and domestic students participating in these programs and able to get also some scholarships internships to help go. And then in those programs in Switzerland and in Germany, they can look at their best fit for business and can get some credits and know what the programs are like there. We also have over to language courses, going to Japan, short-term programs, over our nursing students going in, and other students for summer school. So lots of opportunities. The virtual is if you maybe want to take a course online, that's a possibility. If it's not offered here and you want to learn, that's available. Sometimes you come up with some free programs. There's some work experience like the virtual internship program. I say them as programs because you are students. You're still thinking about developing your resume, developing your management skills. So they work on that and work on the mentorship in it. So they do have fees for these programs, but we have lots of funding that you can get through the university to help with the covering of supporting the cost. But these programs are set up to lead you in success if you were to go into a job. And often they help to try to get you in an internship with a placement that helps with what you're wanting to expand your skills in. So learning the new culture. So that our next deadline, it falls the same as exchange. So it would be June 15th if you want to go for the fall semester. Otherwise, it would be December 1st if you're thinking for the spring semester, or for next year, summer will be February 15th. Field schools is something we have some going to the Amazon, Columbia, Paris right now. And if you want to go next summer, they'll post the new opportunities in the fall, and the deadline will be December 1st. That's where the teacher will lead with a group of students, and they'll travel together, and they'll get credits just for traveling and working with as a faculty on this group trip. These other programs are more independent, but sometimes you might go with a few other students who might be accepted at the same time for similar locations. All right. Now, so where to go? We highlighted our partners around the world that our university, Kwantlen Polytechnic, has agreements with. And so connection to your degree program is important. So say you're studying psychology, maybe you're also looking at partners that have offer psychology, maybe in one of the universities abroad, but it's also then limiting it down to where your interest is, what kind of country maybe you want to spend some time in as you're going to be there for a couple of months, and you maybe have interest in learning the language or connection to there, so that will help you with that. And your professional development. So maybe it's you have in your program some electives, and maybe those within arts programs or business programs, you have a bit more flexibility and openness. So if you want to also develop some skills for an elective in a different area, then you can think of trying to take courses in there. For example, I just pull into our student here who did study psychology, but she wanted to also use electives in business and other areas. And so she went to another university and took courses from there that did transfer over for those field. And that was aligning in more also this area with the professional development of courses that had interest for future. So that helps, and we can discuss more trying to help with where to go. Just also highlighting if you're for students that are in the Wilson School of Design, as they do have the academic advisor here from Wilson School of Design, there are the same, it's more recommended for them to go to our particular partner, and if who has the program connected the same as what they're studying. Because so if you are like for the fashion, product design, interior, or graphic design and marketing, these are our universities that have similar programs. So students would want, because they're in very limited entry programs, so they were trying to match with courses that are similar for that semester. So that's where it will be more closely discussion with the academic advisor and with the chair to let them know where that you want to go abroad, discussing the opportunities for the course and that is offered at the other program and how it can align best for where you're wanting to go. And if you have electives, seeing if you can best use them in anything that provides interest. So this is a great map for those in those programs of design. Now, for those students in design, it would be second year spring. So right now, the June 15th deadline is the opportunity for those in graphic design, product design, interior design, if you're in fourth semester, to submit your application for the June 15th deadline. So Geraldine, who's probably on the call, you might be receiving some advising appointments with students from this second year, fourth semester in these programs working on their study plan for the June 15th deadline. Otherwise, it could be the fashion and technology, which there are a few fashion students preparing to go in their third year. If it's an interior design, we have them preparing to leave right now for the later. Great. And so virtual opportunities, I mentioned briefly, we've got internship into here and COIL. So you might see this word, and this might be new for you. It's called Collaborative Online International Learning. And these are faculty members in here, and some of them are doing a lot where they will, in their class, have a project that will be with students at one of our partner university, maybe with Amsterdam University of Applied Sciences. They'll do a project together and they'll collaborate on that in the classroom in these special collaborative online learning programs. So we might have also, when it comes to virtual, every summer in August, if you're interested in learning Japanese, I know I might get an update from our partner in Toyo University for an online Japanese crash course of 2 weeks. It will be a lot of homework. Studying in Japan will be more intense, but that will be upcoming to learn Japanese. But on the side for virtual internships, we have the 3 providers. I mentioned I've been working a lot with Costa Rica. Honestly, I'm so excited. I really hope to visit there one day. They're an amazing company and group, and they really have a lot of wonderful placements with some nonprofit clinics and everything there. But it's for all students of different programs, business, psychology, or general studies, or any student where maybe you study. We have a student who's doing general studies. She's about to graduate. She's not quite sure of the field, but she's thinking about tourism, and she's being placed with a tourist company on travel and doing some marketing and business because she wants to get some skills in that area. And we actually have on the call a student, Zainab, if you're okay to unmute yourself and just share a little bit about what you did in Costa Rica.
Of course. So, hi everyone. My name is Zainab.
Yeah.
So, I'm a third year HR business student, and last summer I decided to apply for the Costa Rica Global Learning Program.
Try to get the just setting up the device.
Okay.
Can everyone hear her, or is it kind of quiet? Can you try again, Zena?
Hi everyone. Is it better now?
Yes.
Okay, I'll just start again. So, my name is Zainab. I'm a third year HR business student, and last summer I decided to join the Costa Rica Global Learning Program, which facilitated and supported me in finding work placement within Costa Rica that matched my HR interests. And I think that everyone was extremely accommodating to like what I was interested in. I remember initially being interested in marketing, so everyone was trying to find me a placement in marketing. And then I remember communicating with Sarah and letting her know that actually my interest shifted and I was more interested in HR. And everyone was really, really like kind and sweet about that. So everyone was extremely accommodating on that end. Um, so the company they selected me for was called Academia 4.0, which is an educational academy that assists Costa Rican students in finding opportunities within the technology 4.0 industries. And these are students who haven't had the chance to properly get an education. So the Academia 4.0 had accelerated uh, diploma programs, and I worked alongside an HR professional who was my mentor during the internship period, and she was very helpful. And whenever I had any like questions about HR or just like the HR field, she would always help and assist me with that. Um, some of my key roles and responsibility as a talent management intern were like designing and developing roadmaps for the students from Academia 4.0, researching and developing the most demanded competency-based skills. The competency-based skills was really interesting for me because I didn't cover that at KPU yet. So when I was at the internship, I was doing a lot of research about it because I didn't know much on it. And then when I went to school back in the fall, that was what we were focusing on. So I was able to apply that knowledge, which felt really rewarding at the time. So I thought that was really cool. Yeah, that was my experience. I felt like it was really, really nice, really helpful. Um, Internships are really hard to get into here because they're so competitive. So I found that being connected to KPU, I had this experience and opportunity. So I'm really grateful for it. And I feel like I took a lot from it.
Thank you, Zainab. Does anyone have any questions for her right now about her experience? No, it's all good. Yeah, so thank you. You're free to go if you want, and thank you for sharing all those tips and everything there.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, you're welcome. So yeah, she did was transitioning between business marketing, HR, and had also internships really help too when you're thinking about different programs of having the practical experience of what it's like in a field, especially when you're a student and thinking if you want to switch or move on. So having that also really helped when she did that in that company. We have absolute internships, and we've had a student just complete with an accounting in a remote setting with a British UK company. And with GVI, they do more on the environmental sustainability. So we had some geography students working on some projects when it came to sustainability projects in South Africa and places in Europe. They were doing some projects on that. So that's on our virtual. We've also had, as I mentioned, some post-bac students, even student Brian, actually his background, he already knew Spanish. His family came from Central America, but not from Costa Rica. So it was really interesting for him to develop a professional knowledge of Spanish and also the Costa Rican dialect when he was doing his business internship program with a placement over there. So we've also had a few health science students, quite a few that you've mentioned, and they've all had different placements and different projects. So the projects they work on really depends on them as to what skills they want. And that's the difference between an internship program and an actual job, where in the job you just do assistant work, where get the coffee or make the photocopies. But in this, you can choose what sort of task you want to do that you want to gain some skills in for the resume. Yes. These are virtual at this time. The reason, and there was an external company, we are looking, thinking about expanding. And the reason it allows a lot more accessibility remaining within Canada. And if you are thinking like our students right now who participated, they did this alongside of having a job in Canada, alongside of having their commitments here, and they did it online there. With Costa Rica, there's not much of a time difference too, and then they also were maybe also having their class. So if the next June 15th deadline is for September, it'd be doing this at the same time of having your classes here. But you can make connections, and then you can try to visit there in person afterwards because they're very friendly for everything. So lots of there. And we also, for virtual, just some Japanese experiences as I shared. So I'm going to talk more about the scholarships right now. So in the funding, we have these different awards. You're eligible for student loans when you go away on an experience. And then there is is our main general awards application or the One World Scholarship. And even after the experience, sometimes you can get involved by posting your pictures and for any scholarships or awards that come up afterwards here. So this is this access to Global Learning Award. If you're going on exchange, you can get between $5,000 or $8,000. If it's a short-term experience here, virtual $5,000 or $1,000 if you were in a COIL class. So any of you who are even alumni, you can even think of any courses that might be COIL related that could even have some scholarships attached for that course if you're picking courses for the fall or spring semester. This is available just to domestic students. If it's, the higher amount is trying to support our target students, those low-income disabilities or Indigenous students, and the second category, or the second amount would be those, as we're really encouraging you to explore a non-traditional destination, not just an English-speaking country, or we have a lot of students going to France. So that's this AGLA award coming from the government to Canada. If you are international student, this is a fund that you can apply for under GuardMe, where you can get up to $2,000 to help with your program. These scholarship applications, and I'll show an example of what one looks like here. So this is what the general awards application looks like. You fill in your personal details, everything inside of here, and then check the boxes. And if you write into here, if you're low income or target, it will be completing the budget worksheet. For this, signing everything. We'll need an unofficial transcript at the time for your program application. That can easily be downloaded and saved off your OSS account. And then we ask for some essays to complete in here about how this will help for your experience, and then how the funding will help for your global learning. So these are similar as the program application, and then two references to come in if you're applying for the program. They're the same references that are good for when you when you're applying for the program. You can use these the same as for the award, one from a faculty member or two from a faculty member or one from a community. They have to be completed on a reference form and submitted directly from the reference to us at KPU. So this is, and then at the end you would sign. So this is the general awards application for the program. If you are doing an application for the virtual or short-term program, you can see it's a similar PDF where you declare your personal details, write the statement of interest, what you're interested in going for, and then we will need the same reference form and transcript of records. So then if you see, yes, this is the reference form. So this is what the faculty will send, and they'll email it directly to us. So that's under the general awards application. We also have One World App Scholarship available just to domestic students, and you can apply for them at the same time. And if you're going on an academic experience, you could get up to $5,000, or non-academic is $2,000. These scholarship applications are doing the same deadline. So June 15th, if you're applying for a fall internship program or the spring 2024 program, that is the next deadline. And we will review the applications afterwards and notify for the acceptance of scholarship and the acceptance for the program moving forward, so you know if you have some funds to help with your program. So this is what we need for going on exchange, and I can go more detailed into these when it comes to an advising appointment, and it's on our website. Need to know what your first and second choice institution will be. the semester you want to go, and then your personal information on our Move On site. Budget worksheet just helps when you're comparing the cost of what it's like maybe in Australia. You're also comparing Europe, and then thinking about your finances when you're going there, just to help with planning of going abroad and where you're choosing to go. The study plan, that's where you will be looking at the courses and having a long list of what's available there, and then looking at that also with an academic advisor and reviewing over with your action plan. Just checking your action plan so you're clear on what you need for your program for graduation. If you're not sure what my action plan is, do to have an advising appointment, as an advisor can go over that with you just to make sure you're on par. The advantage of going, like you, maybe students are mentioning they're wanting to transfer over to other institutions, like going to UBC, transferring over to other places. At any point, when it comes to transfer credits, all institutions, whether or not you're transferring courses from, Japan over to here, so it all gets assessed by the faculty. What helps is that we're here trying to advocate. So if I get courses that get refused coming back from the business department, we are your advocate to try to get them reassessed so they can come back here. But if you're transferring over, that could be reviewed a different way by different institutions. But we do this planning because we really want to try to set you up for success, so that you are having the best transfer credit back if you have electives or those courses, making that planning in the program with us, with the advisors. And now we're getting a repertoire of the students who have gone abroad, of what courses transferred back, and we thank our leaders who've gone abroad for helping with that. And now we know which courses can transfer back in future for other students. So this is basic requirements. Short-term application, something a little bit less if you're going for the, as I reviewed, for the virtual or summer programs. And scholarship, I talked already about. So timeline. So I mentioned here in timeline, if you're applying right now, just a heads up, next deadline, June 15th for spring 2024 for exchange. And that's especially for those who are finished their around 24 credits in getting into their second year. And the next deadline here is also June 15th for fall. So that's our next upcoming deadline. Just looking at the timeline right now. So if you're aiming for that deadline here with your application here, June 15th, you'll be on the second part. So then by around here, you'll know when you'll get to, if you're for your first or second choice, having it completed in your scholarship update. Then we nominate you to the partner. We're looking at the courses, trying to get the outlines and reviewed in September. By November, that's where you'll be going through our Moodle course and giving us some documents in here. And we'll do a pre-departure session, and then you'll leave in December and then start the program over into January, check in, and then return. That's when you'll come back. We'll have re-entry, working on the transcript and the transfer credit with our registration office, and then you'll become part of our alumni program. So this is how the timeline works. We have study abroad alumni here. Some tips in there. So tips from Shelby, who's currently a psychology student over in Scotland. She's just finishing up her semester and she'll be returning back. Is just about, it can be quite overwhelming. So always just think about doing a little bit each day, and not, and with all of this, you may want to plan a huge ahead, but I know with our students right now, they are still waiting on their acceptance documents. And then once they got that, then you plan the next. So it's you plan as you go. But things do come up, and then just responding accordingly. And then this is a good one. Georgia's currently over in Australia. She's actually having a very good time, and she's wanting to try to stay for another semester. Recommends checking out all the social media accounts for all the places that you're thinking of going to. So if you're curious about what life is like at Swinburne or Aberdeen, Scotland, it would be looking at their accounts and seeing what life is like as you're trying to decide if what your first or second choice is of where you want to go. I'll let maybe Emmy speak to this.
Yeah, for me, I think my biggest problem was not like asking questions because I was afraid to, but I think that's you have to ask questions, especially if you want to. I think it's a lot easier to ask questions when you don't know the actual answer and try to find it on your own. It definitely helped, especially Sarah. She helped a lot when I didn't know a lot of things. And also that goes with when you're actually abroad too. Don't be afraid because everyone will be really helpful in answering your question.
This is also coming from someone who went to a country where English was not the first language. So it's also navigating that
Yes.
when you're also not being afraid to ask questions in a second or third
Yeah.
language.
I think learning a little bit like basic of that language is really helpful, but Japan, they're friendly, like foreign friendly in some places, but not so much in the countryside. They're not really exposed to a lot of English speaking people because a lot of people just go to the touristy areas and that's where mostly you can speak a little bit of English. But I do recommend learning a little bit of that country's language to like help a little bit more.
Mhm.
Also with the person in Scotland, she said finish everything on time and like I think do not procrastinate. Then it just feels overwhelming when you have to hand everything in all at the same time and you have to get things done. So also doing a little bit at a time also helped me a lot. And the save important documents in separate files, this helped a lot when I had to go back and resend files when I lost some. This was when I was doing my application and there's a lot of information and documents you had to fill out and saving them in a separate file so you can see where you have them and you can easily pull them up. And also when you're going abroad, I would recommend bringing those files like on hand with you just in case. Um, and that's with like the fourth tip, have backups of every document because you never know if you need them or not, and it's better to have them just in case. Um, the fifth tip is yeah, budget more than you think you will need because I spent a lot. I spent a lot of money, and
And when that's a lot, do you mind sharing a bit of the amounts of how we were budgeting?
I was budgeting for mostly food and like travel um and also shopping like for gifts and for yourself. um Japan was pretty non-expensive compared to here. I'm not sure about like European countries or like South America or anything.
We have some people to speak to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes you go on a spur of the moment trip and that costs a lot of money. So I would like the baseline you should budget for your accommodation, your like living, and then plus that like for shopping and stuff. Because you never know how much you're gonna actually spend. You just budget like, okay, I'm gonna spend this much amount of money for accommodation and stuff, but you never really know how much you're actually gonna spend.
And are you okay with sharing some numbers of
Um, so I how much I spent like I had 16,000 with me, but I came back with 2,000. So that's a lot like job.
16,000 or 1,000?
16,000.
Oh,
Just in case. I budgeted for 12,000, but then I had some leeway just in case. So, but then I came back with
oh, this is
2,000.
including the accommodation.
Yeah.
costs. Oh, okay. I thought that was 60,000 for like spending money.
No, no.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's including accommodation and your living there and tuition also for KPU. If you're doing the exchange program at a host country.
Yeah,
And
usually we've said around 10,000 for the semester, and then know that you can take some student loans out, and there's
Yeah.
scholarships for that too. Some students were able to, and I know some did that in Japan,
Yeah.
able to have a part-time job. It's not always recommended, but it can be possible as
Yeah.
well for income while you're abroad.
yeah, it also depends on what region you go to. For me, if I went to Tokyo, I would have to budget a lot more than where I went to. And also my sister actually went on exchange to Kyoto where I went, but she only brought 8,000 with her, and that was fine for her. So it really depends on what your spending habits are. I just budgeted more than what I needed, to be honest, just in case. That's also with like setting aside emergency fund just in case, and you don't touch that unless it is an emergency. I got that tip from my sister because she actually went when COVID hit in 2019 to 2022, and she didn't know, oh no, 2020, yeah. She didn't know when she was coming back. But all the planes got canceled and she only had like her emergency fund left to get a different plane. So that really helped her out. Um, and applying for scholarships, even if you don't think you qualify for it, that was a big thing. I learned this in high school when you apply for a lot of scholarship, you don't think you're gonna qualify for it if you only qualify for like one thing on that requirement, it's better to actually apply for it because you never know, you might get it. That was same with me. Like I didn't think I was gonna get any scholarships, but I was able to get two for this exchange, so that really helped a lot.
It was really good too. She even also applied afterwards for both, so she's
Yeah.
a recipient of more scholarships. So no, even when you are abroad and maybe you get into that situation where you need some more money, it could be reaching out back to us saying, "Oh, is there more scholarships available that I can apply for? I'm spending a bit more or needing things there." Just also for our last, just maybe a few minutes, can touch Maya and Jess, if you're okay to just give a few. Is it okay?
Yeah, sure.
Just the same a little bit about tips and then maybe about encouragement for the South America side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have like my tips on the thing on the PowerPoint or I don't
Yeah, I just put the perspective, but just freeload it for what
So
if
for
you
my
have.
university, which I went to Columbia, they did have a mandatory B1 intermediate Spanish needed. And I'm actually really thankful that they had that because Colombia isn't Mexico. They do not experience tourism like Mexico. People go to Mexico think, yeah, you speak English there because they have a lot of tourists. Colombia doesn't have that same experience, and a lot of people did not speak English. If they did, they're definitely in the younger generation where it's more like in style, but when you're going to, go to shops where it's not 15 to 25-year-olds working in those shops and they're over that age, there's very low chance of them speaking English. So that having that intermediate Spanish really helped me because I was able to communicate completely fine in Spanish. Another tip just for experience wise, saying yes to things. And I know everybody's like, be safe, think about it, make your calculated decision. Don't calculate decision. You overcalculate decision, you're gonna spend your whole exchange in your dorm or in your house. Obviously be safe and gun in a car with somebody random, but if someone's saying, hey, we're going here this weekend, instead of thinking of all the reasons you possibly can say no, oh, I have a test the next day, I'll have this, just say yes and then figure things out afterwards as they go on, because that's how you're going to get the best experiences and learning experiences. Yes, you might like make a mistake. I shouldn't have said yes to that. I had a class the next morning and now like I kind of screwed myself over with that, but you're not going to be able to get that experience if you just spent the whole time in your room. And what's the point of paying all that money if you're gonna stay in your room? So I just said for most of my things, like my rule was like, if people ask me 10 things to do, 9 times out of 10, I'm saying yes to it. And I'm just gonna go, and it might be super boring, or it might be super fun, or it might be not what I wanted to do at all, but at least I can go back and laugh about it. So that was a good thing to do.
For your budget?
Oh, budget. Okay. Colombia is actually very inexpensive, compared to Vancouver. So I didn't have as much as a problem maybe in like Japan, where it's a bit more expensive and similar to the economy of Canada. Colombia is much cheaper in the fact of just cost of living, going out to eat is nowhere near like what it is here. So for example, for my accommodation, I did spend a little bit more because I was more concerned about safety, which isn't a problem with Latin America. Like, yeah, you can find a house for cheap, but as soon as they notice you're foreigner and things like that, you can run into safety issues if you're just going for the cheapest option, obviously. So I picked something right across the school. It was called Estudia. Um, it's a student dorm, student housing, food included, your own room, own bathroom. It was actually a pretty good deal. And I think for the whole semester, which is 4 months, it was 5,000 Canadian, which is extremely expensive for people living there. That would be like absurd, never do something like that. But when you're working like us, who are working with Canadian dollars, I would just spend on the security because there was a security guy at the door all the time. He knew when your classes were, when I was late to things, he'd check in and be like, hey, you came back super late, is everything okay? So that gave me a peace of mind. So that was there.
You'll even experience this remotely with a Central and South American country. It's very hearts open.
Yes, very hearts open,
Yeah.
very nice people.
Mhm.
They're very foreign friendly, even though they don't get a lot of foreigners, they're excited to meet anybody. Um, Money for spending as well is not as expensive, especially if you're not doing overly touristy things in a sense. Obviously, if you go to like Medellin and go to Pablo Escobar's house, you're gonna pay some money. Um, which yes, you can do for the culture, but it's also like try not to stick to the stereotypical cultural things of it and try to maybe do something that the locals would do instead of doing the I went to Pablo Escobar's house, you know? And yeah, like for eating, I can go out and eat at a nice, like I ate at a nice Italian restaurant. They made it in the cheese ball in front of me, had chef hats and everything.
Mhm.
And the whole meal was like 25 Canadian. And you can't even get McDonald's for your family for 25 Canadian. So just think of it that way. I think the whole for spending, I also traveled to 4 other places within Colombia, like flying, $100 flights. I think I used probably close to 2,000 in spending money, but I've traveled like about $800 of that is flying places that I was just like, here you go to Whistler, you're gonna spend $400 to go to Whistler. There you go to a whole like the Amazon in Colombia for $150. So I'm gonna go to Amazon in Colombia.
One last question. For some people who are more hesitant to go to South America, maybe their parents are worried about their safety. What might you say to that? Yeah.
Honestly speaking, everywhere you go around the world, there's going to be a problem with safety. This idea of Latin America being overly dangerous, it's similar to like being here in Surrey. It's dangerous if you associate with dangerous people. If you're just minding your business, the chances of someone coming up and robbing you of everything you own, it could happen here too, but the people that get robbed here as well, they're usually not hanging around or doing things that you should be doing in the first place. You don't go around Colombia at 4 o'clock at night walking in the alleys by yourself with a bunch of jewelry on. Don't do that. But honestly, I never experienced anything overly unsafe in feelings. Obviously, they have a different way of dealing stuff culturally. I was on the bus. Somebody saw somebody, not on the bus, on the underground, because there's like a little tunnel to go into the school. Someone saw a guy take the phone out of some girl's backpack or something, and they beat him up. So crime is also very punishable. So people are not going to do that, especially to foreigners, because they don't want foreigners to experience the same things. So I think overall, it's not that fear of being dangerous. If your accommodation is safe, that in Colombia, I think the biggest crime is things around your house, like getting your house broken into. So if you have like a safe accommodation, you're lowering your crime possibilities by a lot. And just Ubering instead in Colombia, because taxis, obviously they're gonna know you're foreign, they're gonna overcharge you, and they're gonna speak Spanish, you're not gonna understand as much. Uber, there's a set price. It's super cheap. I drove to the airport for $4 Canadian. So just take the Uber. So that's my
Thank you.
topic on
Thank
money.
you, Maya. I'll do a quick one with Jess, if you
Yeah.
can just share a few words for Europe.
Yeah, sure.
I love that we have all different continents here.
Amsterdam.
Amsterdam.
Yeah. So I went to Europe in Amsterdam, and obviously very different. It was very expensive, probably even more expensive than Vancouver, I'd say. For accommodation, it was actually pretty cheap. And one of the biggest things I would say is people always say get a single room. Do not go for one roommate at least, because that way, if there's any issues with, let's just say you forget your key, you have someone to get you in. You have any issues like maybe splitting costs. Like I split costs with my roommates, like we split toilet paper, cleaning supplies, everything, and it was so much cheaper. And plus I made friends, like we became best friends. Like obviously you might not become best friends, but it's always nice to have someone to talk to, even if you're just alone. Like me and my roommates, we would, even if we had nothing to do, we were coming up, but like we would finish our homework and there's nothing else to do. It was a weekday, we would just sit around, play card games or drink a beer or something like that, just hang out, and you always have someone to do that with. Another thing was budgeting. 100% I went over. Like I think everybody at this point has gone over. I accounted for about 12,000. I probably went close to $10,000 over that. Because I did travel a lot. I went to 9 different countries while I was there. So I think having that, like sometimes the biggest thing is don't stress too much about money, because it's like for me personally, as long as you have extra cash to be like dispose of, use it on experiences, because you're never going to be able to do this again. Like I went there and like obviously, like I said, I went double over my budget, but I made experiences and did things that I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to do again. Like not many people can say I went to 9 different countries, 10 including Netherlands, within like before I'm 25, right? So that's a huge thing. um Another thing was look around at your accommodation, find something that's suitable for you. So for me, my accommodation was actually right next to my school. So literally 2-minute walk, like it was right behind the building, but it was far away from the city. So some people wanted to go into the city, but then you would have to travel to school every single day. But again, it's easier to get to the center of the city. So there's always a trade-off, but find what's comfortable for you. And always see what the price range is. Like for me, I paid about 500 euros per month. So that came out to about, I'd say 3,500 to 4,000 for the entire semester, which again isn't bad. Like that included Wi-Fi, gas, heating, and water. So I didn't have to pay, and garbage. So I didn't have to pay any of that. But yeah, that's another big thing. But like she said, like always say yes. Like don't, like this is your chance. I was actually pretty introverted before I went out, but once I went there, I started talking to people, started to get to know people. I came back way more extroverted, way better at talking to people, communicating. It was kind of like a pretty big thing. And that way you're not only just learning about the culture you're staying in, but also the culture of the people you're around. Like I picked up some German from my German friends, and my roommates are Austrian, so they spoke German. I had a friend from Finland, so I pick up a few words from there. Like I had Italian friends, so it's always nice to talk to people, and that way you gain like knowledge and experience from everybody around you, and kind of pick up a little bit of culture from everyone versus just the country you're in. So I think exploring and doing all that is a big thing, but I would definitely just do not stress about money. I think that's the biggest. As long as you like, you should account for it and make sure you have enough, but don't stress about it, because again, like this is a once in a lifetime kind of thing. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
No
So we've got Europe, Asia, and South America, and they're here. So we're just finishing up the rest for this PowerPoint, that there's those opportunities. And for our alumni coming back, some of them can also be a part of a Global Buddy program. So even if you're not thinking of going on exchange, we have our new incoming exchange students. We'll be meeting them over here. We'll be having a bunch more come in the fall semester. So if you wanted to connect with any of them, deadline, let us know by email, and you could be connecting to practice your language or know what it's like in the country before going abroad through a Global Buddy program. We also do a lot of events. So our alumni coming back will be helping at info sessions like this. And if you go abroad, we would be inviting the same to you. We have like here, this is our welcome event that we did in fall. We'll be doing another one. And now it's just small. Here is we missed you, Maya, because she was in Morocco at the time. But this was here our pre-departure event that we had before. And we have International Focus Week in November, where all the students will be presenting with tables, and our incoming students with some snacks and everything at that time. So just that's, if you have any other questions, my name is Sarah. You can find me on Advisor Connect, and we can talk more specifically for your particular program, your particular application, and everything there. And the email is internationalprograms@kpu.ca. That's something that we work together. And if you are interested in anything else, that is our contact information. We're also on social media. If you want to check out the YouTube videos or Instagram where we post anything onto there, our Leo's in the back, he responds to that. But I'm just gonna stop this. Geraldine, I know you're calling in virtually. Did you have any questions, or you're okay? Because we're just 3 o'clock. We're just finishing up this now. I'm really happy this finished promptly on time. Just gonna stop this virtually. And if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we can connect, as I mentioned, privately.